The superstructure of the ship was finished, the shipyard's fabricators moving on to assembling and fitting its reactors. Work crews moving around in the bay were fitting power couplings and cables. The ship was expected to be finished sometime in August, 6 months from now, but it was a big ship, so there was plenty of overtime to be had. That's why Hamish was still here. He'd done his shift for the day, but he was saving up, hoping to buy a ship for himself. Nothing so massive as the Cecilia Payne. He wanted a home, one that could travel the system. He'd been working here for 30 years and had never been off Ceres, at least in the Fizz. He had visited dozens of virtual worlds, explored the caves of Zorion, built a civilization in Maddox's realm, but none of those places really existed. They were fantasies, and like a growing number of Fizzborn, he always felt the disassociation of the virtual. No matter the realism level, they never truly felt real. The main power grid was not fun work, nor was it his speciality, but overtime is overtime. 5 more years of working at the Ceres shipyards, and he would have enough for his ship. The Cecilia Payne wouldn't be the last ship he worked on, not even the second to last, but it was all experience for when he had a ship of his own. Work Group 5 was called in. Hamish was from Work Group 3, so he had to finish up now. 3 shifts was the most he was allowed to do. Union regulations. So he finished the coupling and pushed off, drifting through the bay toward airlock 3. 4 dozen others drifting their way to airlocks as well. 14 of them joined him at the airlock and headed in. It took 4 minutes to pressurize, time enough for several to go online, though Hamish spent the time filling in his work log, or at least the first 30 seconds of it. One of the Syrian humans shared an AR of the UNS news feed, drawing everyone's attention. The Kraken and the UNS were at war. Fighting began an hour ago. Several UNS warships were damaged or destroyed, including the Vigilant. Hamish felt bad about that one in particular. He'd been on the construction crew for it a couple of decades back. It was still pretty new, but now it's scrap. The airlock's cycle time was filled with the news, images of giant kraken and battle, ensuring that the feed was the only sound until the airlock's inner door began to open, snapping everyone out of it. As they headed to the locker room, conversation began. There were kraken on Ceres. The Belter Kraken worked all throughout the inner belt, and Ceres is a member of the UNS, so worry was the primary topic of discussion. With more than 50 people in the locker room, it was busy and loud. Hamish was glad there were separate shower units for the smaller workers. With so many people distracted by the news, it would be easy to get kicked or trodden on. Humans and even the foxes were much taller than Hamish, and indeed half of the workforce, the majority being rat uplifts, the Syrian rat. Hamish finished quickly, as did many, logging out and heading for home. He took the derogatorily named Short Walk. Syrian rats make up nearly half the population of the colony, so much of the house space is built for those less than a metre tall. Hamish, only 48 centimetres himself, spent most of his time in the Short Walk, where almost everyone you see is a Syrian rat or the occasional Syrian fox, though their ears would touch the ceiling. The news was everywhere. Live streams of battles between the UNS and Kraken, with reporters' voices talking to experts, most of whom seemed to think the Kraken were to blame. But local news was carrying war-related content as well. 3 attacks on Belter Kraken had happened since the war broke out, the Kraken being targeted by UNS loyalists. Ceres had been a member of the UNS for 6 centuries, but in the last one, the government, with support of the majority of the population, had been increasing their ties with the Colonial Alliance, so UNS loyalists were in the minority. But it seemed to Hamish that they wanted the war to reach Ceres. The entire walk home, he and everyone around him were watching the news feeds, both in AR and on the holoscreens throughout the commercial and residential districts. The fighting was still going on, but no colonies had yet been attacked by the Kraken, only the terraforming platforms and the UNS fleet, though the news was suggesting that it was only a matter of time. Hamish lived alone, but being so small, his home was spacious, 8 cubic meters of comfort. Casting the news to his home's hollows, he began calling friends on Venus, checking in with them. He had never been to Venus in the Fizz, but he had visited many virtual realms there, made friends. He had even considered moving there a few years back. The 22-minute delay to Venus meant that he had to record messages and send them, hoping for a quick reply, letting him know what's going on and if they were safe. He recorded 6 messages. Sending them together, it would probably be at least an hour before any replies, so he ordered in dinner and sat in front of the news, hoping that no colonies were under attack now. The first reply came from Keiko, a Carnath he had met when venturing into the virtual of Venus. She hadn't always been a Carnath. Her family were from Earth originally, natural humans, but they made the move to Venus when she was a child, leaving their bodies behind on Earth for a new life and a new species. "Hey, Hammy! Good to hear from you!" She was smiling, but her tail was still, so she wasn't happy, just pleased to hear from him. "It's crazy here. Everyone is scared that the Kraken will attack the city, but I don't think so. They haven't attacked any colonies yet, just those stupid terraformers. Carnath City is a member of the UNS and serves as the capital of Venus, so Hamish doubted they would leave it alone. Loads of protests here too. The Hearth have denounced the UNS actions, claiming that it was them that fired first." She paused for a moment, her smile dropping away. "I think a lot of people are panicking. Their virtual hub is lousy with people trying to get off world. Even Marcus wants to leave, but I told him, I'm not going. This is my home." "Any activity from the Kraken there? I heard they were mobilizing on Mars and Mercury, so you should watch out. It's probably going to get ugly." Leaning back in her beanbag, she continued, "Stay safe, Hammy. Let me know when you get this, okay?" Hamish began a reply. "Hey, Keiko. I'm glad to hear you're safe, but maybe Marcus is right. It's not safe on Venus right now. You should come visit me. Stay on Sirius for a while. Just a holiday. There have been a few UNS hardcore types attacking Kraken here, though, so maybe we should both go on holiday. I hear Pluto is nice this time of year, long summers and all. Maybe the fighting will be over by the time we get there." The recording was interrupted suddenly, the power going out. Using his own neural computer, he checked the local news. A ship had hit Ceres, deliberately crashed into the Kraken district. The cylinder was compromised. Staring in disbelief at the news, Hamish was unsure of what to do next. When the power came back on, flickering for a moment, before cutting out again. It was time to move, he thought, so he began packing and recording a new message to Keiko. "Keiko, our ship just rammed the Kraken district here, so I'm getting off Ceres. Looks like there is a shuttle for Jupiter in 3 hours. I am going to Io. My uncle lives there and it's outside of UNS territory. Please join me if you can. Please stay safe. Please come to Io. I will pay for a body for you." As soon as it was recorded, he dispatched it. As he finished packing, he paid for a ticket to Io, heading out of his apartment with a suitcase and backpack. He called into work, letting them know he was headed off-world. He had no intention of dying for the UNS. On his way to the port, 3 more messages from Venus arrived, all friends he had made. 2 of them were getting off Venus, 1 more was signing up for a medical frigate. So he sent replies, telling them where he was going and inviting them to join him, before boarding the shuttle to Jupiter and saying goodbye to Ceres for now. Not that it mattered. He had been seated on the shuttle, but not for long, when the captain announced that debris around Ceres had resulted in the port cancelling flights. It would take days to clear. Days on a colony that was about to join the war. He didn't even rise from his seat. Opening a data channel, Hamish uploaded to the hub. He was not going to die here, even if he had to abandon his body. He could afford a new one, 6 in fact, if he dipped into a ship fund.